Plot Summary 60. The God of Small Things. Introduction. The God of Small Things is the first novel authored by Arundhoti Roy. The book was published in 1997. The story is based on the childhood experiences of fraternal twins. During their childhood, the twins were guided by the love laws which were laid down. It was told them who should be loved, and how much should they love. It is the small things in life which create a great influence, affecting the people's behavior and their lives. It is the only book which follows very unconventional themes of fiction writing. The book was highly acclaimed and it brought the Booker Prize in 1977 to Arundhoti Roy. Arundhoti Roy had been writing articles, stories, and reviews in the early years of her writing career, but as of 2010 The God of Small Things was her only published novel. This first novel of hers established her in the literary circles all over the world. It took her 4 years to write The God of Small Things. When Mr. Pankaj Mishra, an editor with HarperCollins, read the story, he was very impressed and he sent the manuscript to 3 British publishers. Arundhoti Roy immediately signed a contract with the famous publisher and she was given £500,000 in advance. The rights to The God of Small Things were sold in 21 countries. With time, the book was translated in Hindi and many other languages. In academic circles in the English-speaking world, The God of Small Things has made a very special place, and in India and some other countries it has been included in the literature course of study. The book was generally praised, and reviewers from around the world have good things to say about the book, but as often happened, it could not remain without being criticized. Some critics labeled it verbose while some others criticized it for its controversial subject matter. Plot Summary. The narrative of the story The God of Small Things is not written in a sequence and it does not open in chronological order. The novel continues to shift around in time. The story takes place in Imanam, now part of Kottayam in the Indian state of Kerala. The story covers the period between 1969 and 1993. In 1969, the major characters of the story, the twins Rahul and Astha, are 7 years old. After a long separation, the twins are reunited at the age of 31 in 1993. Most of the story is written from the perspective of the 7-year-old children. Malayalam words are liberally used in conjunction with English. Some facets of Kerala life which the novel captures are communism, the caste system, and the Keralite Syrian Christian way of life. Amu is the daughter of the ill-tempered father, Papachi, and long-suffering mother, Mamaki. Amu wants to escape from there because there is not sufficient dowry for a marriage proposal. She knows that she will not be able to get married if she stays there. Finally, Amu persuades her parents to allow her to go to Calcutta to spend their summer with a distant aunt. She does not want to come back to Imanam. Amu marries a man who works at a tea estate. He assists in managing the tea estate. After the marriage, Amu comes to know that her husband is the heavy alcoholic. He often beats her and once he tries to force her to sleep with his boss because his boss has given him the ultimatum that he will lose his job if he does not bring his wife to sleep with him. Amu does not obey her husband's disgusting command. Amu has given birth to 2 children, fraternal twins Sastha and Rahul. She finally leaves her husband and goes back to her birthplace, Ayamenam, where her mother and brother live. But Batch's sister, Baby Kahama, also lives at their home. Baby Kakama's real name is Nabaniite, but she began to be called Baby because she had become old enough to become an aunt. It is believed that Kahama is an honorific name for a female. When Baby Kahama was a young girl, she fell in love with Father Mulligan. He was a young Irish priest. Father Mulligan had come to Ayamenam to study Hindu scriptures and to know about the Hindu religion. It was a one-sided love because Baby Kahama did not reveal her feelings to Father Mulligan. She wanted to be close to him, so she became a Roman Catholic and joined a convent. Her father was against it, but she did not listen to anyone. She spent a few lonely years in the convent. She gradually began to realize that though she had become a Roman Catholic, she was unable to be close to the man whom she lived. Finally, her father rescues her from the convent and sends her to America for studies. Baby Kahama studies there and obtains a degree in ornamental gardening. Having failed once in love, and not being able to arouse the feelings of love in the heart of Father Mulligan, Baby Kahama resolves to remain unmarried for the rest of her life. She involves herself in business to forget her unrequited love for Father Mulligan. Baby Kahama is a strange woman because she is happy to see the misfortunes of others. She is a very authoritative manipulator. She is a vindictive character. She is so ill-willed that she manipulates the things in such a way that it brings calamity upon Anu and her children, Rahul and Astha. Chaco was studying at Oxford. He met a woman named Margaret called Margaret Kahama in the novel, and he fell in love with her. She was an English woman. Chaco married her. Margaret gives birth to a daughter. She is named Sophie, referred to as Sophie Moll in the story. Moll means a little girl. A few days after the birth of the daughter, Margaret informs Chaco that she had an affair with a man named Joe. Margaret and Chaco are divorced, and when Chaco is unable to find a job there, he comes back to India. When Bachi dies, Chaco comes back to Ayamenam and takes the control of his mother's business. Her company was called Paradise Pickles and Preserves. Unfortunately, Margaret's second husband dies in a car accident. Chaco invites Margaret and their daughter Sophie to come to Ayamenam during Christmas. One day before their arrival, the other members of the family go to a theater to watch a movie called The Sound of Music. There is an orange drink lemon drink man in the theater. He is a beverage vendor. He molests Astha. That incident affects Astha highly adversely, and it continues to haunt him for the rest of his life. The following day, after that unfortunate incident, the family goes to the airport to pick Margaret and Sophie. They come across a group of communist protesters. The communist protesters surround the car and compel Baby Kahama to come out. They humiliate her and they compel her to force a red flag and chant a communist slogan. Valutha is an untouchable servant who works in the pickle factory. Rahul thinks that she has seen him in the crowd. Baby Kahama thinks that Valutha has instigated the crowd to humiliate her. She begins to hate Valutha from that day onwards. Valutha is a scheduled caste man, called a Dalit in India. He is an untouchable. The Dalits are supposed to do the work which people of the higher class do not deem clean. Valutha's family has been working for the Ibe family for many generations. Valutha is a highly skilled carpenter and mechanic. He is indispensable in the pickle factory because no one can match his skills, but the other factory workers who are of higher castes do not like him. They often show resentment and hostility. Unlike the other people of the society, Rahul and Nustha begin to love Valutha. They begin to regard him and they form a bond with him which was supposed to be unlikely then. Owing to her children's love for Valutha, Amu is also attracted to Valutha. Her children love the man by day and she comes to love him by night. A love affair begins to flourish, but unfortunately it ends in a tragedy. When the family finds that Amu is having an affair with Valutha, they imprison her in a room and they banish Valutha. Amu is highly distressed and angry and she begins to blame her children for this misfortune. She calls them the millstones around her neck. She thinks that it is because of her children she is in a predicament. The twins Rahul and Nustha are highly distraught and they decide to run away from home. Cousin Sophie also wants to go with them and she persuades them to take her along. They leave the house and try to reach the abandoned house across the river. Unfortunately, the boat they are using to cross the river sinks and Sophie falls into water and drowns. When Margaret, Kahama and Cheko come back from Cochin where they had gone to collect their airline tickets, they are shocked. Sophie's dead body is lying on the sofa. She begins to vomit and she cannot stop crying. She develops hatred and spite towards Rahul and Nustha because they have survived the boat accident. She hits Nustha in her spite. She does not know that the idea of crossing the river by boat was given by Nustha. Baby Kahama is ready with her manipulation of the situation and she visits the police station and accuses Valutha for Sophie's death. She lies to the police that Valutha had tried to rape Amu and threatened the family. She tells the police that Valutha had kidnapped the children. The police believe the story and they begin to look for Valutha and they finally hunt him down. The police beat Valutha savagely because he has crossed the boundary of his caste. The twins Rahul and Nustha are the witness of this barbaric act but they cannot do anything. They are deeply affected by this inhuman act of the police. They pity Valutha. Finally, Rahul and Nustha tell the truth to the chief of police. They tell him in detail how Sophie had drowned. The chief of police is alarmed. He knows that Valutha is a communist and if they arrest and beat him unjustly it will result in unrest and the local communists will retaliate. The chief of police gives a threat that he will hold Baby Kahama responsible for falsely accusing Valutha. Baby Kahama is frightened and to save herself she applies her tricks on the twins. She compels the twins to lie and forces them to accuse Valutha of Sophie's death. Finally, on account of his injuries, Valutha dies. When Amu comes to know about the incident and she hears that Valutha has been wrongly arrested, she goes to the police to tell them the truth. She wants to tell them about her relation with Valutha. The police listen to her story but they threaten her and force her to leave the matter alone. Baby Kahama is afraid because she thinks she will be exposed. She convinces Cheko that Amu and her children are responsible for Sophie's death. Chaka wants to take revenge and he tricks Amu out of the house. When Amu is unable to find a job, she decides to send Esther to live with their father. Esther goes away from the house and he never sees Amu again. Life is difficult for Amu, and she is living a life of acute poverty. She dies miserably alone. Rahul has had a very disturbing childhood in India. She is sent to America to study. She wants to get settled there and she marries a man she falls in love there. Their marriage does not last long and, finally, she decides to come back to Imanam. In America she has already been involved in several years of working dead-end jobs. Rahul and Esther are 31 years old when they are reunited. This is their first reunion after their separation at the age of 7. Both have the haunting memories of their miserable past. They are haunted by their guilt. Esther has not spoken a single word and he is perpetually silent. Similarly, Rahul seems to have a haunted look in her sad eyes. It is obvious that neither of them found another person who could understand them well. They understand each other so well. The intimacy between the twins is renewed and this intimacy leads them to sleeping together. The final chapter of the story takes us back to 1969. The narrative describes the first sexual encounter between Amu and Valutha. The narrative describes how they stuck to the small things and big things never found their place inside them. Amu was separated from her husband and Valutha was an untouchable, and both of them knew that they did not have any future together and they could not go anywhere together. They did not have any future and as a result they decided to stick to the small things which they had. After each sexual encounter they promised to one another tomorrow. They had very small promises of having sexual pleasure again the following day. The novel ends on the optimistic note. She kissed his closed eyes and stood up. Valutha with his back against the mangosteen tree watched her walk away. She had a dry rose in her hair. She turned to say it once again, Nali. Tomorrow. The story very beautifully describes how very small things become significant when you know that big things are not there for you and there is no hope of getting them. Those beautiful promises of small things are highly significant and touching in this story.